for those of you who have not met me, I am Dr. Erica 2.0. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist and I practice in the Chicago area. Dr. Stacy and I actually went to medical school together at Indiana University not that long ago. And we actually reunited here at a conference back in April. And at that point, that's how Two Old Bees was born. And so we've been coming on Sunday nights, usually at 8 p.m., competing with things like power and football. But we are here today doing this live, and we want to just thank everybody for being here.
So again, I'm Dr. Stacy. Thank you everyone who came from Atlanta and anywhere else. We had a PowerPoint to put up, but we're just going to talk about, it's kind of open. So what is the purpose of this show? What we wanted to do was kind of talk about topics that we were passionate about, topics that we found that our patients talked about, our friends talked about. And like for me, my passion is fertility and HIV in African American women. And let's see what else.
And then for me, it's women's health in general, prevention. I love nutrition and fitness as well. And then also I have a special place in my heart for the adolescent population. I just feel like that's an area where we just need to educate them so much because there's so many misconceptions out here, especially in our community in regards to sex, sexually transmitted infections. And so we need to do more. When you know more, you can do better.
And I really love what Dr. Erica named the show, Two OBs, because it kind of takes the edge off, right? You're like, whoa, what's going on? So that's what we want to do today. We want to open it up. We want to have open discussion. You got your cards in front of you, and Dr. Erica has told you that write your questions down. We're going to talk about it. We came up with some formal things to talk about, but we just want to make it fun, okay? As you see, things haven't went from A to B to C today. So now, one thing I did want to talk about, last week we talked about triple negative breast cancer. And if you haven't listened to any of our shows, last week's show was probably the best. You want to tell them a little bit about it?
So we actually had I call her a breast cancer warrior. She's someone that I went to church with. I've known her for probably 10 or 20 years. And she's 41 years old, was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. She has a family history of breast cancer. Her sister was diagnosed at 40. She has a maternal grandmother that also had breast cancer, and then her maternal aunt also had cancer. And in our Black families, a lot of times we don't talk about our medical issues. You know, grandma gets sick, she dies, and that's it. So literally, her grandmother was a nurse, and she self-treated. She said she was well endowed, but by the time she passed away, that breast had shriveled up to a prune. And so her thing is that she felt bad about her diagnosis because knowing that her sister was diagnosed, which means that she had a primary relative with breast cancer, meaning like your sister or your mother. She missed her mammograms 2 years in a row. And when she went in, she was diagnosed with this very aggressive form of breast cancer. Now, in regards to survival, I mean, she's a warrior, she's a fighter, her faith is very strong. So she was like, they're not going to define her prognosis or her survival. And so actually she just reached out to me the other day, and her goal is to actually start a petition so that women who are less than 40 won't have resistance to getting their mammograms. Because sometimes you go in and doctors are like, oh, just wait until you're 40. And sometimes they even say, wait until you're 50, or you can wait a year or go every other year if you're healthy. Mm-hmm. But she actually found her own lump. And so I think it's so important that we examine our breasts. Play with your breasts. Sometimes our spouses and partners are finding our masses. And so it's really important just to go, starting at 40, getting that routine exam. If you're less than 40 and you have issues with your breasts, you know, you have to be really adamant and be your own advocate when you're trying to get that breast exam from your doctor or that mammogram if it's needed. So she's actually she said she's changing it from pink to peach because she feels like the pink aspect is really more so about the monies are not going where they should be going. She feels like there needs to be more financial resources available for individuals. Let's say you need a gas card or you need to buy groceries for your family. There should be more access. And so really with, you know, some of the organizations, I'm not going to name them, she just feels like more of the money is going toward research, which is needed. But sometimes people just need basic necessities. And so she's lucky enough to have a husband that she can work part-time, but everyone doesn't have that luxury.
And one of the things that she pointed out was, you know, we put so much energy into October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that people who actually have breast cancer look at it differently. That although it's good that we're bringing awareness about it, but are we really looking at the issues that they're going through? And she brought up, what was it, Angel?
Oh yes, Angel Mail.
Angel Mail.
So it's actually a website And actually, it's a page on Facebook where she's been getting letters from all over the country from individuals that she's never met before. They're sending her words of encouragement, books, T-shirts, pink nail polish. She's like, I'm afraid to use now because of going through chemotherapy. You really have to be careful what you put in your body. And she just brought up some really valid points that people may not think about, like how when she goes to the bathroom, she has to flush it twice so that the people in her family are not affected by the chemotherapy. Or, when she's having, sexual intercourse with her husband, having to use a condom, which is something new. They've been together since they were 15. So he's probably like, really what's going on here? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll see like a decrease in libido, but she's like, no, that is not a problem for her right now. And she was very open and honest about everything. So we're going to have her come back in a couple of weeks. We'll have her come back in a couple of weeks and kind of just get an update on where she is. She just finished up round 6 of her chemotherapy this past week. She has 8 more to go.
So, do we want to do myth and medicine, or do we want to jump straight to that?
Actually, we have a little clip here that I wanted to play.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody listen to Tank in here? Tank fans?
Why don't you tell us? What did he say? No. Do we need to give her a microphone?
We're gonna play it too. So, but you can give us your synopsis. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to pull it up here.
And so I think initially he was on a podcast with Angela Yee, who's a member of the Breakfast Club, and she's actually going to be in Atlanta next week. So if y'all want to go,
all right.
You right? So you ready?
Go ahead and cue it.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Let's get into some comments that Tank made when he was on Lip Service. And by the way, I just want to say Tank is a great conversationalist. I like him as a person. And so here's what the conversation was about.
I definitely had a guy say to me before, like, but I don't lie to you. I've only lied to you a couple times about women.
I hear what he's saying.
We know.
He's not a liar. He just lied twice.
Doesn't that make you a liar?
No, because I've done construction a couple times, but I'm not a construction worker.
So let's say a guy sucked a dick one time.
Jesus Christ.
Does that mean that?
What does that mean?
He sucked the once, right? Mm-hmm. And then he's like, I'm not sure if I liked it or not.
Let me try it again.
Let me try it again. And then he says, you know what? It's not for me. Don't like the taste. But it doesn't mean he's gay.
All right. So he was trying to prove a point about cheating.
I must say that I had like 3 group chats going about this yesterday. All the guys in our group chat was talking about this. I don't know what being gay is then. If I kill 2 people, am I a murderer? If I rob 2 banks, am I a bank robber? If you suck 2 penises, yes, you have been gay at least twice in your life. What Tank is essentially saying is, said individual tried being gay and he realized he didn't like it, but that doesn't negate the fact that he participated in gay acts.
But that doesn't mean you're gay just because you participated in that act. Because if you did something 10 years ago and then you're like, this isn't me.
He didn't say he tried it once. He said he tried it twice.
Twice, right.
I don't need a second time to try something to know I don't like it. Whoever Tank is talking about had a taste for penis.
Well, he did go on his social media to clear things up. He posted, tune into my interview with the ladies from Lip Service, which, by the way, we are on tour. Our next stop is Charlotte on Sunday, and then Silver Spring, Maryland on Monday. He said, great topics and great perspectives. We are all not the same, and the beauty of exchanging information is what I enjoy. Now, here was his explanation.
I said what I said. Y'all so goddamn homophobic. You got to watch the whole clip. In any event, it's just homophobia is real. Let me just tell you that. It's just as real as racism,
what got to do with
homophobia, and just as damaging. And it plagues our community the worst. This can't be used as a negative. You can't use a human being's existence as a negative. I get it. You want to call me gay, whatever. I don't have to defend that to you or to anybody. You don't have that power over me.
What this got to do with homophobia?
Well, if you look at his comments, there's a lot of people saying really homophobic things in his comments. Because you know how people are on social media. So somebody said, "You not allowed in Philly." He said, and then Tank responded, "I just did. I'm coming Saturday and we need to see you." And then somebody said, "You still posting? You been canceled." Everybody's calling him gay. They're telling him he got DSLs. Put them DSLs to work, y'all.
What's wrong with that?
Gay.
That's a compliment.
I don't think that he meant it as a compliment.
Listen, all I'm saying is don't
So
try.
I understand why he would say that, because I'm sure there's things that he's seeing that y'all not seeing on his page.
That is true, but I wouldn't just call everybody homophobic. We're just asking a question. How many times do you have to suck a penis to be gay? The same way you say, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? We just want to know the answer to the question, Tank. Maybe it should be a 3-suck law. Okay, you know how some states have the 3-strike law when it comes to crime? There should be a 3-suck law. If you suck a penis 3 times, you qualify as gay. How about that? That's fair.
I think what happened was he was trying to defend the whole I lied twice, but I'm not a liar. And then when he got asked that, he kind of was backed in the corner, but he still was trying to defend his original statement.
Hey, man, when you're backed in the corner, the best way to get out is to suck a penis, right? Twice. That's what Tank said?
That's not what he said, but
okay.
Anyway, we can discuss that more. That is your Rumor Report. I'm Angela Yee.
All right, so that's Tank. Any thoughts?
Don't you look? Y'all know. I know this was some explicit conversation. However, you know, it's something that you would discuss at home with your spouse or with your girlfriends or something like that. Before I give my opinion, I wanted someone to.
Come on, we have plenty of seats up front. It's like when you're late for class. Come on.
Nope.
Put that finger up like you're in church. There you go. We're gonna pass the plate around later.
Miss Latasha, what do you think about the video?
I don't have any real opinion about it. I just sometimes I feel like, okay, yeah, that's gay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and other things, other times I feel like live and let live.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Still, and maybe I shouldn't be, but
So sometimes when I listen to it, I think, is the discussion about being gay, or is it about, like, first of all, I don't think that, I try to give Tank the benefit of the doubt, and when he said that, he was just trying to make a point. Okay, that's fine. But there's implications from having certain types of sex, okay? And that's what it boils down to for me. I don't really, I don't care, that's none of my business how you identify in terms of sexual identity. However, when you identify as that person, be defined. Okay, I have sex with men, I have sex with women, I have sex with both, and then share that with your partner.
But I would also think that there's now this distinction between gay and then MSM, so men that have sex with men. And I think now, I think in our culture, I think a lot of people are very sexually fluid, like Dr. Stacey was saying. Like, you may choose, like this week, I want to be with a woman. Next week, I want to be with a man. And again, just having that honest exchange. But I just want to hear more about what you all think about this. For the people that came in late, we were just talking about Tank. I don't know if you all heard about Tank and how he said, if you heard about it, okay, how if you suck 2 penises, you're not gay. So that's really the gist of it.
Well, I don't really buy into this being gender fluid. I kind of feel like it's being kind of pregnant. It's either you're pregnant or you're not. So if you suck 2 penises and you decide that's not your flavor, to me, what made you to be that curious? And I don't want to put labels on people, but I don't know, you can stamp on your dating application, pseudo gay, or I was, gay 2 times, but I think you should be open and honest, because I'm married, but I just don't know if I would want to be engaged in a relationship with somebody who had previously decided he wanted to suck on a male's reproductive organ twice. There's a stigma, and there may be some our own prejudices, but that's mine. And I almost feel like in this society, you can't really say how you feel, because then you're labeled because you feel this way about somebody's sexual preference or orientation.
I feel like there's a bias among the fact that if men like sexually experimented, it's immediately seen as disgusting or you're gay. Not to say that it's not a gay action, but if a woman experiments with her friend or she has a girlfriend on the side, it's seen as something attractive for her to do, or it's attractive in a relationship for her to do that. So there's kind of a don't think, not to say that neither action is gay, but one is seen as gay because it's repulsive and the other isn't. It's just seen as experimenting or her just being really girly because of the different gender biases.
What's your name? Chantal. Chantal. Okay, well, you're gonna be our millennial. I love pointing at my millennials in the room. So I think that's a very, very valid point. Who saw the barbershop video?
So
barbershop.
exquisite cuts. So there is a barbershop here in Atlanta, and for $80.
Chicago.
He's from Chicago, but he's in Atlanta now. So when in Atlanta, when in Rome. So he actually is here, and he does a haircut. It's $80, and so with that haircut, you get a shot of liquor and some head.
Wait, from a guy or a girl?
From a guy. Yes.
Yes.
You get a haircut too. You get a haircut, haircut, head, and Hennessy. I know. I just made that up.
Nice, Doctor. Yeah. I was actually in Chicago last week, and I talked to Dr. Erica about it, and I just had no words. I had no words. Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Can I say something too?
Sure.
When I listen to that clip, and I feel like a lot of times, especially in today's world where you just get sound bites, I want to hear the whole thing.
Put it in perspective.
Yeah, because
With
there's
Tank,
always
yes.
just clips, and even from that clip, I did not hear him say that he did.
Exactly.
Now, what he said on his social media afterwards is something different, but in that clip, I did not hear him say, yes, this is
That
what
I've done it. Exactly.
Correct.
Like you said, sounded to me like he was trying to make a point.
So I listened to the podcast this morning, and I encourage everyone to go listen to it. But you're right. The conversation was about whether that men were much more lenient. Women were much more lenient in their man cheating. Okay, and he said, Angela Yee, they said, well, sometimes if you're cheating, as long as you go back, you can be forgiven and things like that. And then she said, well, what if you're a construction? Then Tank said, well, if I'm a construction worker, I've worked on construction twice. That doesn't make me a construction worker. And so they start naming different things. And then she said, well, what if you, that's where that came from. So yeah, you have to look at it in context. Yeah.
A comment back here.
I'm a millennial.
Okay.
And I do think that was a gay thing to say.
Okay.
And I don't have anything wrong with gay people at all.
Right.
Just be honest about what you do. And for two, Tank has a history of being blamed as gay. So I think this is where it became more of a okay, this is it. This is the final. Like, I think the first thing, I don't know what happened the first time, but I know the second time around, he was like performed at like a gay concert, and like guys were touching on him, and he was like, it's the history behind why they formed this up.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And for two, like she said, there is a double standard. It's unfortunate, but it is a double standard. I think women can say, yeah, I slept with a woman back in my day, now it's okay. I don't think it's the same for men. And unfortunately, it's not. It's definitely not the same for black men, because being gay, up until recently, you can't even tell your father or your grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's unfortunate. I do kind of see where he's coming from, but I still think he needs to be a little more open about it. Because I don't think a straight male will say, yeah, that's okay. Like, I just don't. I think a straight male would be like, no, he's gay. I think he would have stopped it right there when Angela said it. Because like you said, they were naming examples.
Right,
He just
right.
like, nothing wrong with that. Like, no straight man is going to say it.
I want to hear male perspective on this.
So we had this conversation yesterday, and like I said, I like Tank. I found out yesterday from talking to you that all this was going on and things of that nature. And to piggyback on what the young lady just said, is that there had to be some. I'm not saying gay wrong or whatever like that, but there had to be some type of suspicion with him, for him to get that question. Because if she's sitting there with somebody who don't have no doubt or whatever, that could have went way wrong. You ask a man who definitely is not affiliated or have no suspicions about that. But I was like, okay, that was weird for her to ask that question about that.
It's almost like a setup.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a setup. I think it was just a setup because of maybe some stuff that was heard previously about him. And also to add that I think it's true. I mean, you just gotta be honest about whatever it is you like. I think that's probably the biggest problem is if it's come to sequel, that you are this way, but then you try to portray you're not, and things of that nature. And then you gotta just let whoever you with decide whether or not they want to rock with you if you're into that kind of stuff.
Any other male perspectives?
Well, yeah, I would look at it as a lot of the stereotyping and everything. As far as that question goes, I mean, yeah, it was gay, but as far as going to the person, I guess, or the person that someone talking about, is more like, I would call him a bisexual person, because obviously he like men, and obviously he like women, you know, but, I mean, yeah, that's just, nah. I mean, women, you know, and the reason why women can do the things they do and get away with it, because most of the time from us growing up, like, you know, society where we in from beginning of time, that was considered the thing, that's what it is. You know, men like women, where they've been with other women, they like 2 women, 3 women, 4 women, that's cool. But you really gonna see a woman like, yeah, ooh, I would love to have my man be with another man. I mean, that's just, that's not the norm. So in anybody's mind, what's the norm of what's going on, that's just not, you know, what it is. So when she came with a question like that, that's why he was saying, well, if I murder somebody, I'm a murderer. If I do, yeah, you're a murderer.
Right.
Because if I got tendency to say, I want to kill my boss, I got that tendency. But if I go all the way through it, they're going to be like, man, that dude's crazy. He killed his damn boss. But all of us done thought about it. You know?
Right.
Twice. It's the difference from you saying having the tendencies, you actually falling through it. And him actually falling through it twice, yeah, dude, you gay. Right. But if you want to be the woman, okay, but now you bisexual. Because you want to be with both. But, you know, most women ain't going to do that. I guess it's how they say it, in the eyes of the beholder. Right. Some women might be cool with it, most women might not.
So I'm just curious, as far as like people that are single and dating here in Atlanta, how do you, I guess, approach this, especially when you may have people who may not be very forthcoming in regards to their sexuality? I mean, do you feel like it's a limitation in regards to your dating life, or like, and there's what, 40 women to 1 man here, something like that? Is that, I don't know if that data's correct. I think that's what I heard recently.
Well, come on, my millennials, step on out.
Nobody's dating anymore. Do y'all even date anymore? Do people go on dates, or you just Netflix and chill like the millennials?
You know they have a category on Netflix called Netflix. They're like,
before you go on the date.
So what happens now? How's it work now?
It's like no one wants to waste their time or their money, so you got to talk for a whole month, spend time getting to know them before you can go on a date. That's how it goes now. No one just pour right after dates.
So do you talk, or do you actually? Is it a text message?
People like texting.
So it's the whole month of texting?
I prefer talking.
Okay.
Person or on the phone. Some people don't, and they do like to get to know people over text.
Do you get to know them over the text, you feel?
I just like texting.
I'm not a texter. I will go out.
okay. Kelly?
When I was dating, I got to a point where I just realized that I had to be very clear with my questioning and not beat around the bush, you know. So I'm married now, but when I was dating, I, you know, would just sort of go with the flow and let the guy lead. But I very quickly realized that I had to start defining what I meant by dating, married, you know, so when you ask somebody, are you married, operationalizing what that means, you know, like if you're dating, operationalizing what that means also, because, you know, what one person defines as being single, another person might not, and so, you know, at first, I felt like that was really kind of outside of the norm of the dating culture today. But I got so tired of dealing with nonsense.
I might need you to write those questions down for me.
And it's, as far as dating too, like, you know, what type of pointed questions were you asking when you were out there living single?
So I would, right out the gate, I decided that I wanted to start asking people what they were looking for. You know, what are they interested in? Are they just wanting to date for the sake of dating? Are they dating with a purpose? You know, and whatever it is fine. Just be honest. You know, don't lead me down a pathway, you know, that you're wanting to be in a relationship with the potential for marriage, but really you're just out there looking at sex. And so I got really bold in asking those types of questions. But then I also realized that there was a certain pool that I needed to be swimming in. You know, and I realized for a while I'd been swimming in a catfish pond looking for salmon.
Okay. All right now. Did y'all hear that on live?
Can you repeat that one more time? You can't get the scavenger, right? You want the wild caught.
So, you know, like-minded folk, you know, that were looking for common things. And not to shun the people that were in the other pond, but to realize that, you know, we were just looking for different things. And, you know, I was tired of playing games, you know, so.
Anybody else?
I can completely relate to what you're saying. I mean, I wasn't here in Atlanta when I was dating. I actually met my honey on Tinder. We were in Indiana, you know, and the two of us, that when we met, I was 35 turning 36. He was 36 turning 37. Neither of us had been married, no kids, and all of that stuff. So we were dating with a purpose, like you said. And by that time in my kind of pursuit of a relationship, because, you know, growing up in Christianity kind of puts you in the mindset where a woman should sit back and wait. And I was like, look, bug all that. I want some kids. I'm going to be active in my own pursuit for a relationship. And I tell my girls this now, flip through them like cards. And for women, a lot of times we're very emotional when we're dating, and we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings and all of that. Bug all of that. I got like you, and I was very clear about what I wanted. And so the questions that I asked were pretty much geared towards what do you want, and then whatever my deal breakers were, those were my questions. And I was not intimidated if a guy would be like, oh, okay, I don't want that, I was okay with that, and I moved on. Or if I met someone and I felt like, say, chemistry is a top for me, if chemistry is not there, if I don't want to rip your clothes off, if it's not there, then you're not it. And I was okay telling the guy that I don't feel a romantic spark. You're cool, and we went our separate ways. I was very methodical.
What were some of your other deal breakers?
Simple stuff like smoking, those sorts of things. But then it was, have you ever put your hands on a woman? You know, what's your family like? Did you have problems with addiction? And so when me and my man got together, he was in Indiana temporarily. We met on a weekday, so on February 29th. And then, like, he was leaving at the end of June. So we had from that time to the time that he was leaving to decide. Like, so we had some very grown-up conversations in a very short period of time. And our beginning courtship was not butterflies. It was a lot of hard work, conversations, and heavy lifting. And we decided, okay, we're either going to move forward with this or we're not. And that's just what it was, and it's worked for us.
And shout out to Rufus for his 40th birthday party. If you're out there, Rufus.
Happy birthday, Rufus. You are almost a Libra. Kelvin, you had a question? Comment?
Actually, yeah, question. I'm just wondering, like, are guys, like, I hear y'all saying, y'all asking these questions to the guys. Are guys being honest in the answers? I mean, I can say for myself in my 20s, I would say, what the hell? Every one of you want to do that. You know?
GTD.
Exactly. Well, in my 30s, I got more confident with myself and had a little more things. Then I was like, well, you know, I got it going on, so I can say what I feel like saying, and I know it's going to work.
No, I just recently turned 30, and my past relationship, I was in my 20s. So now I feel like you said in my 30s, I kind of like know, who I am. I'm a little bit more confident. So if I'm, pursuing a lady, or if I'm trying to get to know her, I think it's intentional, and I'm not trying to play, games. But unfortunately, a lot of women have been hurt or done dirty. So if they see you, trying to be honest, they think you on some BS and kind of asking you questions, and that kind of gets kind of stressful because you're like, dang, I'm actually, out here trying to do something nice, and you gotta like jump through some hoops, which I know, someone previous will mess it up for the next guy. But I think that's interesting now, being a millennial and dating.
So I just think about like one of the turnoffs, like, first date with a guy, like, oh, well, I'm looking for a wife. And it's just like, really, is he looking for a wife? Or is that like a red flag? Like, this guy is crazy. But maybe he's being intentional, and we're just not used to having those honest conversations.
I also feel like dating in itself is probably different than dating,
How
Chicago.
So?
I think here it's more, more charm of dating. And I'll be honest, I was in New York yesterday, and my bill was like $56. I'm like, I couldn't date, effectively, and why didn't I dine the girl and paying over $100, like just to go out, somewhere regularly. So I think it's probably more options to do things that may not be as, financially taxing.
I can agree with that because I know when we were first dating, Brian had to figure out what I was going to eat. That's how he would determine what he was going to eat. So like, I'm adding on this. I want an appetizer. I'm getting a salad, a couple of drinks, and you're like, okay, well, I'm getting the pasta, $9.99.
I think to answer the question you were asking also, I think that it's about the questions that are being asked, but I also think it's about observation. And, I just feel really strongly a person's character is pretty consistent, and, we are who we are. We tend to show who we are over time, and those patterns become more evident over time, and not too much time, but, some amount of time in dating helps you to kind of get a sense of who the other person is. So being really honest with yourself about whether or not this is behavior or action that I can live with. Not trying to change the other person and make them be somebody else, but just asking myself, is this something that I could live with in the other person? And keeping in mind that there's deal breakers, but then there's also things that I call them negotiables. Those are the things we don't like, but we can live with. And in every relationship, there's always going to be things you don't like about your partner, but you got to be able to live with them. It's those deal breakers that make the difference.
I think men are being honest too in Atlanta because they have so many options. So it's like whether you want to be with me or not. I have other girls lined up. So usually, like she said, over time you can tell. Usually within a short period of time, like 3 to 6 months, you can kind of tell who they are. It's up to you whether you want to be with them or not. But I do think that, especially 30 and up, men are honest. And they're just,
And I would have to agree as well. I just got off a date, so that's not.
We want details.
Excuse me, but, and I feel like they are very honest. They tell you exactly what they want. And like she said, there are a lot of options out there, so you just take it or leave it.
So what's a date now? Is it like a cup of coffee? Because I know in Chicago, the kids, they're like, oh, we go for coffee. That's a date.
That's the first.
Is that a date? That's the first date?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, I think there's levels
It's
to
a second
dates.
date.
And I feel like when you first get to know someone, I have no problem like going to a coffee shop, like having an initial conversation. Like in the past, like I'll take someone to dinner and then it'd be dead, and I'm like, why did I just waste like all this time and energy? So for me, I feel like if I'm first starting to get to know someone, like I don't mind taking them to a coffee shop, doing some kind of like different activity besides like sitting and eating and like staring, at each other. But I'm also 30, so I don't know.
So I'm from Chicago. I came down here for college. Yeah. And I do feel like in Chicago there was more to do. I felt like the dates were more creative because we were broke, so we like walk down Lakeshore Drive and we go to like a museum. Like it'd be more exciting and it gave us time to like get to know each other. Versus down here, like kids are like, okay, if you don't have a car, you can't take your date on the bus. Oh, we're gonna go to movies, we're gonna go eat. But then it's different because again, I'm in a college, so you get people from different areas, and so people date differently. Like they said, like north, like if you're from up north, you're like, and you're blunt in how you like approach people. You're like, I like you, you're cute, let's go out. Here they put the charm on, they're like trying to talk to you, but then they're also maybe talking to other people, but you wouldn't know it because they're just so flirtatious that they try to hide who they are, especially like young men. Like you could ask them to be upfront with you, and some will, but some will not, just because they feel like they'll hold on to you longer if they give you what you want.
Okay, so I'm going to pull this back into the medical scene because this is for everyone, but especially for my millennials. Okay, so, I practice here in Atlanta, and I've been blessed to practice in several states. Since I've been here, I have taken care of more women with HIV than any of the other states that I've practiced in. And so we can talk more about that, but I think the factor that the CDC has pointed out and many people have found out, HIV is being spread in our community in African American women by having sex with men who do not identify as bisexual but have had sexual interactions with other men. So I have some statistics, and I'm sorry I couldn't, bring it up here, but 1 and 2. So the CDC has stated or predicted that with men, homosexual men that have sex with men in their lifetime, 1 in 2 will develop HIV. Okay, and this is the number for heterosexual men, 1 in 20. Okay, and this is African American. Okay, this is all of these statistics are African American, and this is the number for African American women, 1 in 48. So that was my whole. I know that the tank conversation was pretty deep, but that's, if you don't take away anything from this conversation, take away that you have to protect yourself, and there's several different ways to protect yourself now. There's the PrEP pill, right, Eric? I was in Miami a few weeks ago, and I saw the billboard that says I'm on the pill, and you'll see it now. You'll see it's a blue pill.
I'm not sure. You taking PrEP?
Hey, ain't no shame.
I'm not a pharmacist.
I think,
but no, there is
it's some commercials out there.
Basically helps to prevent the transmission of HIV.
Yeah.
The thing about it is that people are still having sex recklessly because it's like they're thinking that it's it doesn't prevent it 100%, but it does lower the risk. And so the thing is that you still have to use condoms. And the thing about it is that the only way not to have transmission of disease is not to have sex. That is the safest sex, no sex. And unfortunately,
that's not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen in this day and age. And so really, I mean, they put this PrEP on the market. And so actually, it's the guy that I go to, my physical therapist, we were just talking about that PrEP commercial the other day. And he's like, these guys are out here just wilding out because, I'm taking my pill, so I don't have to be responsible. So again, condoms and PrEP, that's great. But again, just being responsible when you're out here in these streets. And also just screening people. I think when you're dating, you should be asking those questions too. Can I get a copy of your HIV status? Don't just let them tell you that it's negative. I need to see it. Let me see your STI panel, your sexually transmitted infections, gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, the works. Because syphilis is on the rise now. In Chicago, we keep going back and forth as number 1. So, we've had several pregnant patients coming in with syphilis. And so really, we have to do better. We really do.
So are y'all saying that men are stronger carriers of HIV?
I'm going to tell
them. I don't understand, like, if
this.
I know I'm just with a woman, and let's say her past, she did one.
It's just the transmission from male to female is easier than from female to male.
And let's break it down. Anal sex. So you have various barriers. Okay, so with vaginal sex, there's a penis going to the vagina, and the vagina has entry into the bloodstream. But with anal sex, those tissues are very, very thin. Okay, so that's the highest way that you can pass on HIV because you have a direct line to that person's bloodstream. That's why I tell people,
So the men that are having sex with men, and then they come back to their wives or their girlfriends or that girl they met at the homecoming yesterday. So then they're transmitting. I didn't say you put it on your school. Was that the only homecoming yesterday? You called your school out. I didn't. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother topic. What school was that?
There was a survey done. I go to school at ABC too. Okay. And it's like, and this isn't men that are out. This is just men at Morehouse. It's like 60 to 70% are gay, but it's only about 40-50% that you actually see that you can see are gay. So that's 30% that are down low and aren't saying anything about it.
What? You said 60
to 70%. It was a survey that was done.
Who did the survey? Do you know?
It was done. I think it was done online by a student. Okay. So again, there might have been other extra variables and stuff, but it scared a lot of us because again, as women, we know that there's guys that they'll date a car girl and they'll date a Spelman girl, or they'll date and then they'll have a Morehouse boyfriend, and it's just a lot going on, and you can't tell.
See, this is why I love my millennials.
And there's separate stuff going on, and it's very easy to just keep people in their different sections, and you have no idea what's going on in this person's life. And then back to what we're saying, people aren't honest on this stuff.
I hope that's already gets fact checked.
We will definitely fact check that.
I think what you're citing is a real world example in terms of how relationships function in the real world, in terms of overlapping sexual relationships. So Dr. Stacy, I think you're absolutely right that the risk is higher among our community and within our community, but at the same time, relationship concurrency plays a factor. So right, if you're sleeping with more than one person at the same time, it makes your sexual network riskier. Also, if you're sleeping with men, a man who sleeps with a man who also sleeps with women, it makes your sexual network riskier. So present time, what we're looking at riskier sexual networks that create susceptibility to HIV risk among Black women. And so I couldn't agree with you more, Dr. Erica, around having more critical conversations when you're dating, more direct conversations. And I think your point is well taken. Like, will people answer honestly? We can never be sure, but you have to do your best efforts to protect yourself, asking questions like, what does your sexual network look like? In addition, do you sleep with men? But it sounds like with this conversation about taking it, be more specific. Like, have you had oral sex with men? Have you had anal sex?
Or, I have another question. So if you're the man and you have oral sex performed on you, are you gay? Because some guys don't think that they're gay.
Maybe we take the gay question out of it.
Right.
Have you had sex with a man?
Ever.
Take
In
gay out of it so
right.
that you can be
Any
intentional,
orifice.
but not you get to choose, right? Because that's the bigger issue. Do I get to choose who I'm sleeping with and have a fundamental understanding of who they're sleeping with? If that makes sense.
Dr. Thompson-Jackson.
I think you just should assume that everybody is infected because you don't know what I did last night, so I can show you my HIV test. But if I was getting loose and lit last night with he, she, her, him, and all of them, you don't know what my status is now.
That's true. Well, that's how we practice in the hospital. It's like you treat every patient as though they had HIV. So maybe that's what we need to bring into the real world.
Well, if you did that, wouldn't that, like, if I'm saying, if you treated if it's a thought process that everybody could potentially have it, I think that folks will be like, well, you know what, I'm bound to get it anyway, so I'm just going to, just
go out
keep
with a
living
bang.
my life. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that sounds like almost doomsday. If you feel that, 100% opportunity or possibility that I can be affected somehow.
To your
Depends on your mindset.
To your point, though, because I'm a nurse and in the hospital, there's MRSA, right? And so people, which is a staph-resistant infection that a lot of people get, or it can spread through a sore, fecal matter, whatever. But there are some nurses that are like, oh, we all got MRSA. And for me, I'm like, bad.
I'm down and up.
Well, we all do. Run me those gloves. You know what I'm saying?
Run me that
So
condom.
you may have the people who are like, oh, we all run down one day or of something. And then you have the other people that's like, run me my gloves. And I hope that it will be the other side. Like, let's wrap this up because I don't know you like that yet.
Right. Any other comments? We have our cards back there. Let's do the cards.
Yeah.
Just pass them up front, and then we'll go through some questions.
Okay, we'll just start at the top. I'll read it. In this sex-driven society, what the hell is normal? It seems like being heterosexual makes you feel like a unicorn.
So who defines normal in regards to sex? I guess that's the question. Society. And so, does everybody share? It's like, who would even know what you're doing? It's just like, who... Like, when you go out and have sex with somebody, you go out and you tell your girlfriends about it? You do? Oh.
I'm just nodding because I feel like aside from politics of it and people having rights, like gay rights, people having the ability to marry and stuff like that, I'm not understanding why it's become such a thing. Like, nobody is asking me who I'm laying down with. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's asking me what I'm doing with my reproductive organs when nobody's looking. So long as I'm doing it with a consenting adult, this should be my business.
Exactly.
And like you said, there's implications when you're involved in a sexual relationship with somebody, but I think those should be discussed within the confines of that relationship and what's happening with those two people at that time. And now it's become this big, blown up thing. And while I get it, like I said, another part of me is like, live and let live. Most of these things that we believe are social constructs anyway. If it wasn't for disease, it probably,
It almost seems like there's this realm where society, there's like an agenda that's being pushed. So if you watch any TV show, it's like, what is that show? Annalise. Brian, what's that show called? With the How to Get Away with Murder. So now you're seeing this whole quote unquote gay agenda that's being pushed. And it's like, if you turn on social media, it's like it's always being pushed down your throat. So I think it's like the more you see it, I think they're like making it more normalized.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't watch a show now without there being some some talk of like. Okay.
And that's where I
What kind? But which is a specific show?
The cartoon.
Frozen.
Frozen, like the new movies, the main character is supposed to be gay.
Really?
I want my niece to see that. That should be something I choose, but now I can't because society has a certain chance. So I think it's on TV everywhere now that children have kids. The other day I was watching my niece watch TV on Disney. I saw two little boys' kids, and I'm looking like, what is going on?
Wow.
But it's a push agenda.
I think a lot of this boils down to money. I think a lot of the people at the top may consider themselves homosexual or gender fluid or whatnot. And so you cannot, if you want to stay in your particular position, you can't offend them because you want to stay in your position. I will bring up an example. Andy on Bravo, everyone says that if you piss him off, you're in trouble, right? But it's the fact of the matter. And I don't know, I've only been in Atlanta maybe 3 years. I just didn't feel like it was that big of a deal before I moved here. But at the same time, one of the states that I have a license in required us to do a whole education on pronouns and the definitions of gender identification, sexual identification, biological sex, and things like this in order to renew your license. So obviously it's everywhere, but no, heterosexuality is not. It's normal, I think.
But then also, I guess the question is it gender? Is it nature versus nurture in regards to homosexuality? Mm-hmm. Is it something that people are born with? Is it something that is environmental, where you make that as a choice? So, because I know we all can probably count on our hands, like someone that we knew as a child, like, okay, well, we know that person is going to go down that path.
Exactly.
Versus, like, you may have somebody who, at the age of 30, decides, okay, well, sometimes at 65, this is something I've been wanting to do my entire life.
Right. So we haven't changed, society has changed, so it's been that way.
The next one is the downplay of the black male in movie, TV shows. Not really sure.
Once again, watching Winter movie last night. Black Blue.
Oh, how was that?
Once again, they just had the black man just looking like so. I don't know what's up.
Negative.
Make the black man look so
weak.
So can you describe it? Because I'm not gonna go see it. Anybody else gonna go see the movie? No. You can spoil it for us. Step out in the hallway.
But it's in movies and TV shows, but they got them in dresses and acting crazy, but the industry itself, it's like they don't. It's just like fathers in a TV show or anything. It's like they just want to make them just downplay it as just
It's
a white show or something like that. And the white man comes in the film. It's like a white hero, but what I mean. These movies coming out, it's like the black man holding to the black woman like save me, and I'm like, okay, I understand black girl madness, and I'm married to a strong black man.
all right now, all right.
Yes, you are.
I understand that. I'm trying to say that they trying to play this. I'm not saying I don't want to see it because I'm watching the movie. I'm like, look, this movie about to happen. It's about to happen next week. This movie just came out. She's like, yeah, you know about to happen because of the way they trying to downplay the thing. I already know what the agenda they're pushing right there, and I think it's just a shame. It's just making the black man just this for all the thing the belief, the tank, all this stuff.
So what do you think about like Tyler Perry? We're in the land of Tyler Perry right now, and how he doesn't dress up like Madea anymore, does he?
He does not. I think that he built his empire on Medea, and now he's trying to employ other people so that they don't have to be a Medea. Okay. And I was online the other day, and people were saying, "Oh, his 2 shows, I didn't like them. I'm not going to watch them." Well, that's the issue because he is where he is because of what he done, and now he's providing this foundation. So it's up to us to support him so that he continues to be Tyler Perry, and then we can continue to have stronger. We can begin or hopefully. Mm-hmm. That's annoying. I know.
But then it goes back to like what the 70s. There was some TV show, some comedian.
What do you say? There you go. There you go. Here you go.
Change the dynamic.
So y'all support Tyler Perry.
So, what are the risks of having a mammogram too early, age 20 to 30, for someone with low risk? So, in regards to mammograms, there's a risk of radiation. However, in the event that you did have one early, usually it's going to be because there was an issue. Maybe you had a lump in your breast, there's a family history or something like that. Ideally, if you're low risk, you shouldn't be getting a mammogram at less than 30. But sometimes we do have people, like I've had a patient who was diagnosed with breast cancer. She was in her 20s with no family history. So again, I think that goes back to something in the environment. You know, we have all this GMO food and, you know, we're growing chickens in a week. So I think it's definitely something to do with the diet.
And what are recommendations for mammograms while breastfeeding? If you find a lump while you are, let's see, if you find a lump and you've delivered your baby and you're breastfeeding, I would say, of course, talk to your physician, but I would recommend the mammogram if you were age 30 or greater, as Dr. Erica stated. I had a lady when I was in Chicago who found a lump while she was pregnant, and then once she delivered, we got the mammogram, and she actually had breast cancer. So, and I think here you're talking about does the ionizing radiation go to the baby?
You should actually pump and dump. So that means that instead of feeding it to the baby, you're pumping it and you dump it for 2 weeks.
Just like any antibiotics or anything like that. Yeah.
So when dating, how long again should we date until it's considered a relationship? I'm going to turn that over to the crowd because I'm not dating right now. Dr. Stacey, are you dating right now?
We're going to turn this over to the crowd.
Okay. All right. Let's define what's a date. Like I know we mentioned coffee. Sometimes it's a nice dinner.
When someone asks me to go to Starbucks or something before we do a date, click, hang up.
But I think that's the difference between millennial versus old heads.
I'm looking for the salmon out here, not the kids.
We're going to go to Papa Do's. John Silver. Okay. Like, I'm just
well, I'm not gonna make any assumptions. Go ahead.
I mean, you don't have to be a millennial, but I still think a first date should be special, but that is be everybody I talk to. So I think there is some preliminary Starbucks and conversations and things, especially when you get to know them, figure out what they like. If you want to really take the time to craft a really good first date. Okay. So the first interaction won't be the official first date because I want to try to make it special if I'm really into you. Okay. So, I mean, I think there's some preliminary.
Okay. So what's an example of, I guess, like a special first date? I'm not saying inquiring minds want to know.
No, I mean, just take them somewhere really, I mean, usually just a combination of things. I think I'm kind of old school, so I would even sit down and eat somewhere. But then probably somewhere like nice walk or, depends on where you're at. And, she's into Ferrisville or whatever the case may be. Okay. A nice sit down dinner. There's something where y'all can walk and talk and all that kind of stuff.
And then as far as like a relationship, so I know sometimes I think what a woman may consider a relationship may be different than what a man considers a relationship. Maybe we got together, we smashed a few times, and now she's in love and she thinks you're her man. But you're like, no, we cool. So how do we define what a relationship is?
Ask questions. Like you said, you gotta be like very, very certain with guys. You have to tell them like. So I ask a lot of questions, and the first day is like, what are your intentions? Do you plan on getting married? And you don't want to make it such an interview, of course, the first time around. But yeah, I mean, guys kind of tell you honestly, right? But just gotta ask questions and be honest. Like me, my dating, we can date and get to know each other. But I want to get married. I want to have kids. We have a problem with that. And I don't plan on dating for 2 years until you realize I'm your girlfriend. Okay. You should be getting married by now. But you have to be honest with guys. And if they really like you, they'll do what it takes for you, to make it work. They really like you. And that's what it takes.
When they answer you, believe them.
They show you.
If they say they don't want a relationship, they don't want a relationship.
You can't change them.
They don't want kids.
Right. Don't be poking holes in the condo.
Right.
And then, like, if you say, like, I know sometimes people define, like, oh, well, he took me to a wedding or he took me to homecoming, so now I'm his girl. So, like,
And for the not married fellas in the room, please ask her what she likes to do, okay? Because she might want to take a balloon ride or just do something or take a walk in the park. Don't assume that you don't want to spend the money for an initial date, so you initially say, let's meet at Starbucks or something like that. Find out what she likes to do.
I think it is important to have a conversation at some point about, well, sometimes sooner than later, about where parties are headed. Like you said, so that one person isn't thinking that the relationship is one thing and another person is thinking that it's something else. And get on the same page
early.
Before you spend too much time and investment.
Right.
I think spending too much time creates emotional connection.
Absolutely.
It's harder to back out of the relationship if it's not right for you. So trying to get to the end goal outcome as soon as possible.
I always heard, like, I have this older lady I talked to, and she says that the reason why men and women, their emotions are different is because of our organs. So because women have internal organs, she feels like that's why we have more of an emotional attachment when we get sexually involved. Versus like men having external organs, she feels like it's easier for them to have that detachment. This is an interesting concept, I think. And so how do we as women get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to love him and leave him too? Like, why can't we do it if they do it? Okay.
I got 2, 3. I don't like any of them, but it's also like, when does it just get too much? Where it's just everyone's trying so hard not to care and just be a comfort that you can't actually foster a relationship.
Absolutely.
Because then you have people who want to foster relationships, and then
makes it hard.
Yeah.
In regards to relationships, my grandfather gave me some of the best advice. I had no idea what he was talking about. He told me, no, it's not. He said, just remember it. He said, a cat never chased a dog. And I was like, what? But as I got older, I figured out. He was like, the cat never chased a dog. Like who likes you. I think I'm great. If you don't like me, bye-bye. I'm not going to waste any time trying to convince you of how great I am. And I think sometimes as women, we think we can make him like this if we, do our hair differently. If we just 10 more pounds, if we cook him a dinner, we could get him to change. No. If he doesn't like you, accept it. Everybody's not going to like you. If you don't like me, too bad.
That's true.
Exactly.
Exactly.
They really want you.
Absolutely. They'll figure it out.
That's why you tell me, my doctor tell my home lady, why you doing this? Why you doing it? Like, the dude wants you. He gonna want you. You're gonna know. I was like, all this is that you're making excuses for him. You know, because you want him. He don't want. He wants something from you, but
right.
It ain't what you want.
Exactly.
If y'all want you, you're gonna know. It's not even a brain surgery. You're gonna know. He gonna give up his time and everything. He's gonna go to podcasts, all that.
Travel 900 miles for a podcast.
Hilarious. Hilarious. I love it.
It's not hard. It's a really simple thing to do.
They are.
It's a big deal.
Right.
It's easy. He wants you. You don't know.
So we were having this chat in the beauty shop a couple of weeks ago, and my stylist, she's probably in her 60s, and she was just saying the same thing, that men are very simple, and she follows the theory of the 2 Fs. So, it's an adult crowd, so she said fuck them and feed them. She said hot, butt naked sex, and that's pretty much it. I don't know, make it easier than that, but I think
That after marriage or
this is after. This is after.
And I'm also a firm believer of letting people talk. I'm a quiet person. I'll be sitting back and like, really? Tell me more. Yeah, here's another drink.
Well, that one.
What you
do with that one? What you do with that one? She don't drink.
Yeah, but she talks.
Oh, she she drinking all cooler for 3 weeks. All right. So this has been great. Any other?
I got
one more
question
back here. Okay. fertility. So.
And hopefully we can do this again in the future. I know, Dr. Erica lives in Chicago, so it may be in Chicago or here. But that's one of the topics that I really want to hit on, fertility and then dating. But the question here is, what are the risks of trying to conceive a child 40 or more years of age for girls and men? So this is a big one. And so let me start. I thought about this while we were talking. My millennial ladies, those are in college. Find y'all man now, okay?
No, he's supposed to find you.
You know what I mean. I wish my mother had told me that when I was in college, but right. So our fertility decreases as we get older, right? And so that is an issue. A woman is born with the greatest amount of eggs that she'll ever have at birth. And so each month that she has a period, she loses an egg, right? For the flip side, men, they make new sperm every single day. Sometimes I think God has little jokes. However, so think of what's something you had as a child that you still have it today? Does it look, a little bit older? Is it, not as pretty and not as, bright as it was when you were younger? So think of your eggs like that. So when you were born with the same eggs that you have now are the same eggs that you had when you were born. So they tend to mutate, okay? So they tend to split, and so drop a little, pick up a little, and things like that. So when you do go to have your child after 40, there's a higher chance of having what we call Down syndrome. So sometimes the chromosomes, instead of one from mom, one from dad, you'll end up with two, or two from one parent, and then you'll end up with three. So that risk is pretty high. The risk of miscarriage is pretty high for the woman, and everything. So higher risk of hypertension,
high blood pressure, diabetes. You have a higher risk of twins when you're older. So people think that twins are cute, but they are cute. But the thing is, there's so many risks. So every risk that you have with just a singleton pregnancy, those risks are doubled or sometimes sixfold higher when you have twins. And so a lot of times those patients are delivering earlier, patients are being admitted to the NICU, and so there are sometimes a lot of issues associated with having twins.
And men, I think what do they call it? Men of late paternal age, it is associated that their children has sometimes learning disabilities, correct? So, but there is still hope. There's a lot of, avenues to still get pregnant and still have your child after age 40. Let's name some. Janet Jackson. Gabrielle Union. I think Halle Berry, but
she was like, 50, I think.
You got to go. Thank you for coming.
How'd you hear about us? Maria? Yeah. What's her last name? Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Let me give you a hug.
And
look at my angel. That's what I call her. Oh, thanks for coming. How's Mark? It's good. Good. Yeah, it's stressful.
Join our Facebook group.
Here.
So, so we were just naming a few. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Somebody, yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us tonight. There's no questions. Next Sunday, we're going to actually broadcast at a regular time, which is 8 p.m. Central.
Let's get some feedback from that about our time.
Oh, you don't have Facebook, and you watch it somewhere else?
So we actually put it on YouTube. So the next day or so, it's usually on YouTube.
So it's only live on Facebook right now. My understanding, and now we have maybe 2 millennials in the house. Y'all watch Instagram more, right? I just can't make it. Okay. And then what are y'all normally doing around? Because it's actually 9 p.m. Atlanta time. So most of my people are, I'm sure y'all probably in the bed. I don't know.
Well, again, just thank you. Next Sunday, please tune in to 2OBs Live. Thanks for joining us tonight at the Gathering Spot here in Hot Lake.
Thank you.